Hello and welcome to another episode of the Field of 68's off-season grades. My name is Rob Doster. I have Terrence Oglesby here with me, and we are going to be breaking down the Texas A&M Aggies. The way I like to do these, TO, for people that have listened, they know this. We go through the roster changes at first. We talk about who's gone. We talk about who's back. And I think it's safe to say that everybody is gone and nobody is back in College Station in this basketball program. Not only are all the players gone, but head coach Buzz Williams departed for College Park and for the Maryland job. That means Texas A&M was able to go out in the portal and add Bucky Ball. So before we talk about this roster, before we talk about the transfer additions, before we talk about anything else, talk to me about Bucky McMillan. Talk to me about Bucky Ball, and talk to me about what Texas A&M can expect to see from their basketball program in the coming seasons.
Fast offense, that's first and foremost. Bucky's a big proponent of your first best look, and I think that's a really cool thing, and it makes it a lot of fun. And you throw in the fact that just another really good coach in the Southeastern Conference, and a conference full of really good coaches. We're going to do some other SEC teams as well. I thought the hiring of Bucky McMillan, while a little bit outside the box and maybe not a household name that you would expect going to College Station, with all the money that they've been able to throw around, I think it's a really good one. I really like Bucky. I think he's a really good coach, and I think he's going to get it going in a positive direction. Not that it wasn't going in a positive direction, but it's going to be a little bit different. You look at what he is as a coach, and like I said, what they call it, Bucky Ball, play unselfishly, play fast, find something. The thing that sticks out to me, though, is really high in block percentage, really high in steal percentage. So you look at the roster that he's put around that system, and I really like what's coming together down there at Texas A&M. I think it should be fun to watch. I think the brand of basketball is good, and I think Bucky fits the demographic more than people initially realize. That's an old Southern boy now. That's an SEC man through and through. I'm interested to see how it goes quickly because they have the talent there in College Station to make an impact.
So my biggest worry about this is like, is Bucky going to be okay in a city other than Birmingham, Alabama? Because he was born in Birmingham, Alabama. He went to high school in Birmingham, Alabama. He went to college in Birmingham, Alabama. He coached high school basketball in Birmingham, Alabama. And then he went from being a high school basketball coach to a head basketball coach in Birmingham, Alabama. He's literally lived nowhere else. The man's approaching 40 years old. You ever see the movie Road Trip?
Yeah.
Remember that movie?
Long time ago. I can't remember it quite, but a long time ago.
There's a line that I forget the guy's name, but the pothead says to Tom Green's character, where he says, "You've never left this town, have you?" That could turn into a debilitating phobia. And I think about Bucky McMillan leaving Birmingham for the first time and having that turn into a debilitating phobia. So we'll see how that works for him in College Station. I will say this: the way that system works is they try to maximize the number of shots that they get, like their shots advantage. And what I mean by that is they're going to try to force a ton of turnovers. They're going to try to get on the offensive glass, and they're going to shoot a ton of threes. So they want to take more shots. The overall concept is they want to take more shots than you. They want to do it quickly, and they want to do it with the most efficient shot in basketball, which is the three-point shot. And I think that works at a lower level. I've always had questions about whether that works at the highest level, because the one thing you're kind of relying on are teams to make mistakes, trying to force turnovers, trying to get offensive rebounds. And you know what good basketball teams do, especially those in the SEC with good point guards?
They don't turn a basketball
They
over.
don't turn the basketball over, and they don't give up offensive rebounds. So that's my one question I always have about coaches that play a style like this moving up a level. Can you be effective doing that in a league like the SEC?
You're effectively trying to tilt the floor.
Yep.
For lack of better terms, you're trying to tilt the floor down to your offensive end, play downhill, and then have the other team play uphill. I understand all that, but I think the things that stick out to me is, like you said, are you going to be able to force that amount of turnovers? But I also, and I'm probably putting the cart before the horse here as far as this conversation's going. You look at some of these bodies they brought in. It's a lot of guys that can get out in the passing lanes, create havoc on the ball, and then they have shot blocking dudes behind them. So even with Federico, who transfers from Texas Tech, I mean, 6'11", long, bouncy, quick. And then you have a bunch of guys around the wings that can get out in the passing lanes and play this style of play. You're almost pressuring out, funneling in, and hoping they make mistakes. Like you said, the talent level certainly goes up from the SoCon, but the SoCon's a pretty good league in its own right. So how does it work? It all depends on your players. Do you have those guys that can clean up the mess when it starts to get messy, especially on the defensive end? And I think the messier you make it, the more advantageous it's going to be for Texas A&M. It's just going to be done in a different way than Buzz did it. Buzz liked to beat you up a little bit and cause turnovers. I think that this roster that Bucky's put together is going to rely a little bit more on quickness, right? So I'm excited to see how it goes. Really, the thing that's really intriguing to me is you look at the Kim Pom numbers from Samford last season, and there was average possession length for offense, little under 16 seconds, 15.7 seconds. For defense, they're up around 18, 19. Mm-hmm. That tells me that, one, they're picking you up and they're making you try to run some offense, and then they're able to pressure you out enough to get you away from what you're comfortable with. So it's a little bit of a two-edged sword. How does this continue to work? Does it work in the SEC? The talent they have tells me that it's going to. That's the thing that I keep coming back to with this roster.
Yeah, so let's talk about that talent. The three biggest names that they brought in for me, and you tell me if I'm wrong here. Pop Isaacs from Creighton by way of Texas Tech. Shooter, gunner, chucker. Pretty much nuts. A perfect fit. A little bit nuts. Pretty much the perfect.
I like
fit
nuts. I like it when it gets a little bit crazy. I probably should have said crazy instead. I like nuts. I like crazy. Because guys that like that, they can explode and then take over the course of a game. That's a whole lot different. So like Pop Isaacs, like in the SEC, where it can get a little bit erratic because the SEC likes to play like that a little bit and let their athletes flourish. Pop Isaacs could have some of these games where he gets up around 30. That fires me up.
Yep. And just so you know, if we were currently on Jeff Teague's podcast right now, there would have been damn, that's crazy. I like nuts. Crazy. That's crazy.
Did you know, side note, did you know Jeff Teague's coaching at Pike High School?
I did not.
He is. He's the head coach.
That's crazy because what happens on
he goes from practice to that podcast.
Yeah, what happens on that podcast should not be exposed to high school students. So Pop Isaac is there. Rylan Griffin is there, who was a highly thought of guy at Alabama, transferred to Kansas. Didn't quite work for him at Kansas. Transfers to Texas A&M, which seems like a really good fit for him. And the one that I'm most intrigued by is Mackenzie Mbako, because Mackenzie Mbako is a former 5-star recruit. He's a top 5 player in the 2023 class. I remember watching him with you at Peach Jam when he was playing next to DJ Wagner, when he was playing next to Ahmad Bradshaw, and we're just sitting there like, he might actually be the best player on that team. And so far, I think you can make an argument he's had the best basketball career, and he's done it while playing completely out of position at Indiana for 2 seasons. He's going to be a small ball forward this year, T.O. Talk to me about Mbako and talk to me about those additions, because I think that those 3 right there are 3 guys that can all get you 20 to 25 on a given night. And if you got that, you got a team that can win a lot of games.
I'm really excited to see him play within a little bit of more structure. And I'm just gonna say it. Woodson's gone at Indiana. Like, not a ton of structure there. Could have been better. NBA guys coming down. I know there's some guys that have had success. Sure, it's different because you have to confine these guys a little bit more than what Mike Woodson wanted to do at Indiana, just because they're not NBA players, they're college players. So You look at what McKenzie's going to be able to do at Texas A&M. I think he fits the system a lot better, and he can use his natural tools at that 4 spot. And one thing I learned, I think Mackenzie Mbako, like, always listen to Adam Finkelstein. That's one when it comes to evaluating players, because we get a short glimpse of how good these guys can be. A lot of times we get the most positive portions of what these guys can be. And he played so well at that Peach Jam that some of the development that he needed, we were kind of hyping out of the water. So like he's going to be good. And I think he's going to be good beside Jakari Lane. And I think he's going to be good beside Pop Isaacs. And I think he's going to be good beside Marcus Hill, because he's going to be able to pick and pop. He's going to be able to operate against different defensive players. I think he's got a lot of talent, a lot of natural God-given abilities, good hands, everything. It's just one of these things, like, is he going to be able to finally put it all together? And I think this bothers me so much, but like, young people and young players, as you're picking your school, make sure you go to the coach that fits what you need the most. And he picked the wrong place initially. It is not what he needed. He needed more structure, more confinement. I think he's going to get that a little bit with Bucky without limiting him, which is the balance, right? As far as a coach is concerned, that's the balance. How do you confine a player without limiting his potential? That's the hardest part of the whole thing. I think Bucky's going to be able to balance that a lot better than Mike Woodson did, because you can't just let guys go. I think he's going to have a good year. And I think you're going to be able to see a lot of his natural ability come out throughout the course of this season.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. Yeah, I agree with a lot of that, and I'm excited to see what he could end up being this season. You mentioned Jakari Lane, the point guard from North Alabama. He's a little bit small, but productive, 17 points, 4 assists, shot better than 40% from 3 on 5 attempts per game. Pop Isaacs, 38% from 3 on 7.5 attempts per game. Ryan Griffin got 4 threes up in 20 minutes per game. Mackenzie Mbako got 4.5 threes up in 25 minutes a game while playing out of position. The talent is there. I'm going to throw in the name Ruben Dominguez there as well, a Spanish guard who's played at their youth international levels and has been a successful pro for the last 4 years over there in Spain.
I called this, by the way.
You did. You did.
I said they need to regulate it. They didn't.
T.O., he was born in 2003, and he is listed as a sophomore. So we have 3 more years of Ruben Dominguez.
We can get in the weeds on that one on the DTF podcast, but there's a lot of weeds to be going through there.
Rashawn Agee from USC, who is another guy that is, was a hype transfer heading out to USC and, didn't necessarily have the best season. Ali Dibba from Southern Illinois, who
Swedish.
I saw him up close and personal in Sioux Falls last year, and that kid can play. So there's bodies here, there's pieces here, there's talent here. For me, the X factor is the 5 spot. And there's 2 guys that really stand out to me here. One is Federico for the reasons you mentioned. You got a rim protector there. You got a lob target there. There's going to be a lot of space offensively, and there's going to be a lot of times when you need someone to protect the rim after someone gambled for a steal and missed on the defensive end. I think he can do that. And then Zach Clements from Kansas, who is a guy that is more of a low post threat and more of a, let's say, land warrior than what Federico might be, but I think he is a talented guy that will give them a different look at the 5 spot. That's the 1 through 4. There's depth there. There's talent there. It's not just the starters. There's pieces. There's backups. I'm a little worried about the 5 spot with this team, if I'm being honest.
I mean, they can't all score. I think that's first and foremost. Like, you got to have some guys that are willing to do the other things. I think Federico is going to thrive as a shot blocking guy, right? And especially with all that action coming his way, he's going to have to do that. The other thing is Jamie Vincent's got good size. Didn't play a whole heck of a lot last year at Texas, but like, you gotta let these other guys thrive in their roles as well. Jamie Vincent, not really a big scorer, but he's huge, and I know Federico can block shots. So how can you do something? When can you insert Zach Clements into the lineup if you need a low post bucket? If you need to find something a little easy when Pop Isaacs is struggling, Jakari Lane can't find one, Mackenzie Mbako struggling to get going. Like, how can you vary up the offense? So you look at those 3 guys. Clements could maybe give you an up and under and get quick 4 points, and then you can yank him because defensively he's not what those other guys are. I'm just spitballing here. I do think that Federico could be a lob threat kind of guy because of that length, because of that athleticism, vertical spacer type situation. You can't all score. You have to have some kind of rim presence as well. And he can run. He can really run. And keep that in mind with Bucky ball, how they're trying to push tempo. Federico can really run.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll add about him is he didn't have the greatest season last year at Texas Tech, but he played in a system where he was backing up JT Toppin and doing pretty much exactly what he's going to be asked to do offensively here, right? Only played 19 minutes a game. That's what happens when you go and decide to play against or play behind a guy that is good for 18 and 9 a night at a top 10 program in college basketball. When it comes to expectations for this group, you got a new coach, you got a new program, you completely retooled the roster. Like, everything about this is completely brand new, and you're doing it in what was last year the best conference in the history of college basketball. I think it's inevitable the SEC takes a little bit of a step back because that's the only way for it to go. There's no room for it to go up. It can only go down from where it was last year. All those things considered, for me, with this group and this team and that coach, I think that you should expect a tournament bid. I think this is a
Yeah.
tournament team. Anything more than that is icing on the cake. In your first year, I think it's really hard to ask for more than that from a coach, especially when you're at a football school in the SEC, to be frank. But I think that this team is a tournament team, and if they get there, this is the kind of roster that you can look at and say, well, they got so many dangerous weapons, they could put up so many points that they could be a shock to the system and win a game or two.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's all about who you're matched up with and can you get hot at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to get there. You have to put yourself in position. I think this team can. I look at the starting lineup a little bit. If I'm just throwing names out there right now, but like Jakari Lane, Pop Isaacs, Rylan Griffin, McKenzie Mbako. You go 6 foot, 6'2", 6'5", 6'8". Is that big enough for the SEC, which is overwhelming with a lot of these lineups in the conference? I do think like they're going to have a couple games at 110 points.
Mm-hmm.
Like this team's going to be able to score. Like, what would you rather have? A team that you have to watch that's in the 40s and the 50s, or would you rather have a team that's in the 80s and then occasionally in the 110s but doesn't guard? What would you rather watch?
This,
Yeah,
without a doubt,
yeah.
like there's no questions.
And Tony Bennett did a lot of great things, but God, that was like watching paint dry. I don't care what anybody says; it was boring. Like this is the antithesis of that. They're getting up and down. They're going to be able to score a lot of points. I think one of the biggest things, I talked to a head coach and he was like, the worst thing in the world is to look back in some of your boosters and you can't find a bucket. That's not going to be an issue with this team. I think you're going to be able to score. I think they make the NCAA tournament. I think they're good. I think they're going to have a couple of games where you're like, holy smokes, what is happening? Is Texas A&M the real deal? And are they in the second weekend? And it's possible they could be just because of how they play and how they can heat up.
Yes. I will also add
Oh,
that Bucky wants to play at a top 10 pace in America. Wouldn't complain about being the fastest team in college basketball. You know who else wants to do that?
Alabama wants to do that, don't they?
Alabama wants to do that. Alabama loves to do that.
Oh,
Can we get 2 games, maybe 3 games? Alabama, Texas A&M this season. Defense optional. You don't have to guard. Let's just get up and down. Let's chuck left and right. Let's get 50 3-pointers up from each team. I'm in.
I love it.
I'm in.
Sign me up wholesale. I'm in there.
Yeah, that's the offense that you want
to cheap.
That's the offense you wanted to play in college, anyways. All right, grade the offseason, T.O.
Man, I'll be honest. So much scoring, so much fun. I think the entertainment value for this team is going to be high. I don't have a letter yet. I don't have a letter, but I'm thinking it's a good grade. I'm thinking it's a good grade. A minus? A minus? Is that where we're at?
Yeah,
A minus?
That's where I'm at with it. A lot of it is because I'm betting on the hype, right? I'm betting on the development of these guys, and I'm betting on the fit of a guy like Pop Isaacs, who, like, we got to say it, was injured for a lot of last year, dealt with hip things. He's dealing with a knee thing. McKenzie Mbako, talented, hasn't put it together yet. Rylan Griffin, talented, hasn't put it together yet. Jakari Lane taking a step up and like, so that you're betting on a lot of this stuff. But I think that the way that they put that roster together connects really well with what Bucky wants to do. It feels, there's sometimes, T.O., and we've talked about this before, when you look at these rosters and it's like, yeah, this guy was just trying to get he needed 13 bodies on the roster. It wasn't like a well thought out plan with the pieces that he added. And I feel like you look at this and it was a well thought out plan, who they went out and they brought in. This is what he wanted it to look like. It's not just he needed to get 13 pieces on the roster and this is what he ended up with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. This is a well thought out plan. We've been giving a lot of really good grades.
Well, you know why? I was thinking about this.
Someone to pick it up.
So someone said to me the other day, like, how come all you're doing is giving out good grades? And I was like, why are we only giving out good grades? And I thought about it, and it's because we're just doing like the preseason top 25 teams. So it's like, if you're talking about all the good teams, and yeah, they probably had a pretty good offseason, right? We're not
Yeah,
talking about the teams that had a shitty offseason
that's
because they're
right.
not going to be good.
Yeah, a lot of
We're
really
talking
good
about it.
grades, and I think it speaks to another facet of like coaches are starting to figure out like how pieces work together
Mm-hmm.
and how you're able to adapt something quickly. You know, we've had what 2-3 years of this now, so being able to piece things together quickly has become part of the deal, and it's a whole of mine. Like, I think everybody's good, which kind of hurts me in the long run because I think like, you know, I look at certain teams that'll be ranked at the bottom of their respective conferences, and I'm like, man, I see what they're doing. I see what they're trying to do here. And then you look at the top of the league and it's like, I see what they're doing. I see what they're going to try to do here. So I think everybody's good. However, this team, I think there's a certain level of, you know, Clark Kellogg, my main man, he, you know, spurt ability is his word. This team has that in
Mm-hmm.
spades. It's the downside of that spurt ability. Are they going to be able to play through it and get enough stops to get through those things? That's the question mark with this team because there's enough dudes. There's
Yep.
enough dudes that can score it. Can they get stops?
Yep. I agree. We're on the same page there.
A
So
minus,
A minus, yeah.
A minus.
A minus. That was Texas A&M. This is the Field of 68 off-season grades. Make sure you check out our podcast feed and our YouTube channel because we have about 35 of these up. Pretty much the 35 best teams in college basketball. You're going to get a full off-season breakdown of them here on the Field of 68. For Terrence Oglesby, my name is Rob Dosser. See you on the next episode.